Let's give everybody a minute and I'll get a sound check as people start popping in. All right. Hey guys. Hey Linda and Diane. Happy Monday, guys. So can you hear me okay? Let me know if it's all coming through well. Hi, Darlene and Karen. Okay, starting to fill up. Shannon. All right. I feel like I just saw you, Shannon, like yesterday when you left my house. So welcome, everyone. We're going to do a proper introduction in a moment. As a reminder, the Q&A box is wide open for your questions. We're really stepping outside the box of the general things that health coaches are thinking about today, about what's going on with our clients. And I'm really excited to introduce Candace. Is it Vondell or Vandell?
Vandell.
Vandell. Candace Vandell uses her extraordinary gift of intuition and insight to assist people in awakening to their inner truth. She's certified in spiritual psychology, Reiki, yoga, and integrative nutrition. Candace offers a new relatable spiritual perspective and teaches her holistic approach to shadow work, emotional management, and integration, as well as empowered intuition and a consistent connection to the true authentic self. Candace has a very successful YouTube channel called Truth Room TV. I can attest to that, where she shares her channeled wisdom and insights on a variety of subjects. She's a regular contributor for the Huffington Post and just launched her monthly membership program, Truth Room Tribe, and offers many online courses. And I just have to tell you guys that straight up, I can tell you firsthand that I have experienced her because I hired her to help me with some stuff after the betrayals and the issues I went through with my marriage this year. And we dove into a lot more things beyond that. So welcome, Candace. I'm super excited to have you. And I'm so glad that I can say that I have benefited from working with you. I can tell you straight up I have. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you too. It's like an instant connection for us. So I'm excited to be part of your work.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So I want to start out by just kind of talking a little bit about the emotional aspect of the, let's say, health coaching. I know it's a lot more than that, but with coaching in general, but working with people, can you start with your 3 steps to integrating emotions into this type of practice?
Oh gosh, there's so many more than 3, but
I'll try to break it down. Yep.
Okay. Well, I started really realizing that I was going to be working with the spiritual emotional realm when I was a child. So every aspect I went into with health coaching, with emotional coaching, with spiritual coaching, it all goes down to the same thing for me. And it's really returning to the authentic self and what that means. And I think a lot of people use health coaching as a great vehicle to do that because it's really about self-care. Mm-hmm. When we are in a space of self-care, that's when we really connect to our true selves. Our true selves is love. If we're not fully loving ourselves or caring for ourselves, we are going to be perceiving our emotions from the wrong place. Right. So, I mean, I guess the first thing would be to get real about how you feel so you can start to heal. So that's the first step. The second step is having boundaries around that. And most people think boundaries mean external. I also talk a lot about internal boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I guess the third thing would be being an example. So really walking that talk. A lot of coaches I see or spiritual teachers I see preach a lot, but then you look at their lives and you're like, well, why would I listen to that? It's like having an overweight trainer who's not healthy. Really? I'm going to listen to what you're saying, but you're not doing that. So these are huge things for me, and really becoming a master of my own emotions was, am I walking my talk? And how am I not doing that? And that's really showed me the abundance of my work started really growing and thriving as I just became it. Just become the work, become the talk, become everything is you. Your business is you. It's a reflection of your own reality.
Right. And don't you find that, yeah, let's start there. So that's huge, because when the words that, we've even introducing you, empowering, inspiring, authentic, authenticity is, is one of those things I think that we think we're being authentic, when we really have good intentions on being authentic. But then sometimes when we get involved, sometimes with one-on-ones, we're doing lives, people are talking to us, we think that they want something more or different from us, and we slip out of that authentic role. Do you see that? Do you see how that can happen to people?
I think that would be the difference, because what I would say is, for me, I really don't care what I think anyone needs. I guess it's like next level something, but for me, it comes from such a place of, this is what I'm delivering. I don't know why sometimes. It's almost like a channeled thing. And I feel as though once you start worrying about other people, you are already disconnected from the teaching that you're supposed to be providing. It really is about, I don't care about opinions. I really care about what I'm feeling. And this is what I'm transmuting. So yeah, especially when I see people worrying about other people, I'm like, oh, they're not in their authenticity.
Yeah. So give us tips on how to maintain that authenticity, because that's what I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing way too much concern about what other what other people think and what they care about and what they're looking for, and less about what feels good to us on how we help people and how we deliver information. Can you give us some tips on how to stay in yourself and stay authentic?
Yeah, well, first of all, it really comes down to when coaches are coaching, you're also learning. And I think of a lot of coaches forget that I do this work to heal and learn. It's really not, oh, I'm a teacher and I'm higher. It's I'm a teacher and so are you. So really wondering, like, if the question comes up for you, I'm worried about what someone else is thinking, immediately ask yourself, why? What about me cares about what they're thinking? Do I not believe in what I'm saying? Am I monitoring what I'm saying based on pleasing or approval? That's the work right there. And that goes into number 2. Like I was saying, the first one is getting real about how you feel. Okay, so you're feeling like I need to impress someone or I'm going to do it wrong. Like, what is that? Number 2 is those boundaries. I was saying is, okay, what's the boundary? When we, a lot of, let's say, coaches, many of us are empaths or highly sensitive people because we like to help people, because we feel like we're here for a bigger purpose of healing. But what's interesting is a lot of people like us fall into narcissistic relationships, even with peers. So what that means is somebody has a higher authority than me. No, they actually don't. But when you think that they do, it's something to ask yourself, why am I not owning my own authority? So I think coaches, to come from a real, authentic place, have to say, that's the number one thing I need to drop is the worry about opinions. Where does that come from? And if that's still coming up for you, you have some deeper work to do before you get on that call the next time. Or maybe while you're in the call with someone, really observe yourself from that neutral observer perspective rather than I'm just supposed to be a coach and this is what I'm supposed to do. That is such bullshit and such like an old school paradigm that we just have to allow ourselves to have permission to release.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you and I, when we had our session, we went over extensively over the narcissistic empath relationship because I was in one.
Yes.
And I'm not, and that to me rang true in so many different relationships I had. Like after we had our session together, I was like, oh my gosh, that one has sucked me in too. And this one over here. And these are just people that are in my life. And the minute I recognized that and dropped those issues and put those boundaries up for myself, everything started to move and change, and the way I saw myself was different. And so, so let's go back to the first part when you said, and one of the reasons I binge watched all your YouTubes was you say something repeatedly, and I don't want to get it wrong, but you have to feel it to heal it. Is that right? Is that what you say?
Yes, that's the Cliff Note version. The real version is you have to get real about how you feel so you can heal.
Right.
And what I mean about that is a lot of times we say we feel what we think we should feel or what we want other people to think we feel. Like to be, I posted this on Instagram last night about, being nice is spiritual. That's a crock of shit. No, it's not. Spirituality is about being real, being authentic, putting yourself first and having those self-care boundaries so you can put others first. That's authenticity. That's being spiritual. What happens after you do those things is an overflow of niceness, compassion, all of that, because you are in your center. You can't start the other way around where you're like, oh, this is how I think I should feel. That is hilarious to me. When you get really real about how you feel and do the shadow work, like, oh, I feel like a big piece of shit today. Okay, let me look at that. That's being real. Everyone feels like shit sometimes. Everyone feels depressed sometimes. You don't have to be perfect to be coaching other people. You don't have to be perfect to be what's perfect spiritual. That's called spiritual idealism. It's crazy. What we have to realize is I feel like this. When I say I feel like this and I don't judge it or need it to be any different, which is a reflection of my inner child. I don't need it to be any different. All of a sudden I realize that the healing comes from validating my real authentic emotion.
Yes.
That is the stage, in my opinion, and what I've done for the last 20 years, the stage of complete healing back to the true self, where then you're unapologetic. Like I said, I don't give a shit what people expect me to say or want me to say. On many of my videos, people comment and say, holy crap, I didn't really expect that. Well, yeah, of course you didn't, because you were looking at me and thinking, she'll be like this. Yeah. No, I'm really not like that at all. I say fuck a lot. I swear a lot. And it's real and raw for me. But what's real and raw for you? That will bring you next to your next level. Yeah. But we're just so worried about being this freaking thing we think we're supposed to be, that we're not dropping into our heart, which is our reality. We're living in our head, which is thinking, anxiety, future tripping, all that shit that when you drop into your heart, you don't even think about it. You're like, oops, I just said that. Cool. Anyway, it's a different reality. It's living from the head into the heart.
Okay, stay there for a minute. Let's stay there for a minute because I want to apply this to a lot of the confidence issues and the fears that I'm seeing coaches with. As much as we're moving even more into being online and being live and being vulnerable and being open. What I'm noticing is I've even watched this. I've become very skilled at seeing someone fall into a place where they feel shame or guilt or worry or concern when they're doing a live, because they turn bright red, they start getting flustered, they start reading comments, they lose their focus, they start sabotaging the message they were giving in the first place, all because they lose what they started with. And that starting a live from here and then getting back up here because of what other people say and do and think and all of that is one of the biggest mistakes I see coaches making today. You can't connect with people.
I love that.
If you're here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So how do you do that live? You're live all the time. So I know how I do it. How do you do it?
Well, so it's funny because when I do YouTube videos, people think it's so weird, but I don't think about what the fuck I'm going to say before I say it. I feel something and I turn on the camera and I don't edit it. Yeah. And that for me is channeling. When there's other people and all of a sudden you're worried about comments and things, that to me is so, I don't know why it feels so wacky to me. Like people write when I do lives and I do speaking engagements, I don't plan anything. I talk, I see other people's expressions and whatever. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah. So that's the difference, is you make it about you. You make it about you, and nothing is really about you. It's about the other person. And that's what we can't get over, because we were born thinking I have to align with someone else externally. I don't get to line up with myself. Right. And so the word that came up for me when saying that is external. Yes. External. If you watch one of my videos, you need to watch them all, because it's really about that. Yes. And it's about how we apply that to all areas of our lives. When you're coaching, it is really not about the other person. It is about you relating to the other person. So why are you all of a sudden giving your power away to a fucking comment when really the comment doesn't matter? Do you know how many like crazy comments I get on YouTube and how many amazing comments I get on YouTube? Yes. They feel the same to me. They feel the same to me because, okay, cool. That's somebody else with their opinion and their perception that, again, has nothing to do with my life. It has to do with what they're thinking in the moment or perceiving me as, which is not my truth. Your perception of me is your perception. Yes. It has something to do with you. Yes. And so that's the difference is, again, getting rid of your need for approval, for your need for opinions. It's like, who cares, really?
Yeah, and you know what I noticed, and we're gonna get to the origin of this in a second. But here's something else I also noticed when I stopped giving my power away. You know, I kept giving it away in my marriage for a very long time. But a long time ago, I stopped giving my power away in my business and in my personal friendships and relationships. Right, just the marriage was the stuck spot. But what I noticed was when the more visible I became and the more I owned my power, I don't even get lit by someone's negative comment anymore. I don't even feel that guilt, shame. Oh my God, I don't get that anymore. It's amazing to be able to stay where you are, right? Yeah. So where does it come from?
100%.
Yeah. Are we going back to childhood with these feelings? Yeah.
Oh, of course. But I love what you just said. I want to highlight what you just said because it's huge. I've been working a lot with my clients around shame. Mm-hmm. As I cleared my own shame, what does shame say? Shame says there's something wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. The word wrong, which comes up from what you're asking me about your coaches. Oh my God. All of a sudden, what are people thinking of me? That's shame. When you can, you know, my life totally started transforming. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago? And I started my YouTube channel. I started sharing my vulnerability. I started sharing my deep, 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 deep truth with a bunch of fucking strangers. Yep. And what came back to me was the most amazing transformation, because almost everyone that's been watching my videos, there's like millions of views now, are saying, holy shit, I relate. Because you can only really relate to authenticity and truth. And when you share your truth with people, it's shocking because you realize I have nothing to fear or hide. So if you do something to me or don't like me, it doesn't matter because there's nothing I'm hiding or trying to hide. This is my raw truth. And if you don't like it, what can I do about it? But what we're afraid about is people not liking the truth of us. So we'll fake it or hide it.
Yes.
Well, here is my truth. If you don't like it, there's nothing I can do about it. This is what it is.
Just
and
move
it
on.
almost heals you because of the level of vulnerability. There's no shame. You're just like, here my shit is.
Yes.
If you have shame about it, you're allowing someone to confirm to you that, yes, there's something you should be shaming.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. And you know what?
Speak your truth.
Yeah, yeah. And so here's the other thing. Bye, Stan. It's okay if it's not your wavelength. We're not for everyone. One of the things that I really found, yeah, that's okay. One of the things I really found out that for me especially was that we try so hard to be for, this is a good example. Thank you for giving us this example. Is I love Stan. I know who he is. He's a Christian. I know what he stands for. He's amazing. There are going to be topics that aren't for him. There are going to be people out there in this world of billions of people that we are not for. So why are we trying to fit into every single person's idea of what we should be and then getting disappointed when it doesn't happen? I don't like everyone. I don't like everyone, right?
No. In my opinion, this is what I've learned through my journey is we are brought up in a conditional environment, meaning we're not taught to align with our inner guidance. We're taught to align with external opinions and authority figures.
Yes.
And so we are constantly looking for the confirmation of self through others. So, oh my God, if someone doesn't like me, what does it say about myself? It says fucking nothing. It says that person doesn't like me. But when we don't have a strong sense of certainty in self, we really care about every freaking opinion because we don't know what our own is. So what I try to tell the coaches that I coach, which I love coaching coaches because this is next level, right? What I love telling them is, but what do you think about you?
Yeah.
And most people are like, well, I don't know how to know that. Okay, well, the way to know that goes back to number one for me, being real about how you feel. When we start to honor what we feel and realize that is our identity. Oh, the way I feel and living in alignment with feeling joy and feeling good and honoring those negative feelings and seeing what this fear is about and really honoring it all. That's how we really connect with our inner guidance. And once we really connect with our inner guidance and we know who we truly are and we refuse to let go of that or put anything above us or our own opinion or our own alignment with us and stop thinking that some authority outside of us knows us better than us, then we start to awaken and say, cool, you can have your opinion and I can have mine and they're both great. Doesn't need to be the same.
Yeah. And let me relate this to kind of a little bit about working with clients too. And I say this all the time used to say it to my clients. I tell my coaches to tell their clients this. There's this fear of doctors that our clients have, right? They're like, oh, my doctor says I should take this blood pressure medicine. And you're like, well, what are your thoughts about that? Well, I don't really feel like I need it because my blood pressure is normal for the most part. They give all their authority to the doctor and they give it away and they do things that make them sicker and don't feel well. So I always say, no one else is in your body. It's your money. It's your blood. It's your time. It's your body. Make decisions for yourself. Stop asking someone else what to do for you. This is the same thing, only on a non-clinical level, right?
It's a tricky thing with it's a tricky thing with the doctor, but I like that example because this is what I would say. Take what resonates and leave the rest.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the old age.
So, but see what happens. Yeah, what happens with this authority issue, and well, many of my clients go through this. It's a phase that we have to go through. Is they take these opinions, and I say, but you're giving it the permission. And so people are like, well, how do I give myself permission? I say exactly that. Do my self-love masterclass. It's all about giving yourself permission to be yourself, to tune into yourself and say, you know what? I'll give you a weird example. So the last month I've been waking up and I've been craving sauerkraut as the first thing in the morning. Most people will tell me that's insane. There's something wrong. That's crazy. I said, you know what? Intuitively, I'm feeling like I need some bacteria, some good bacteria, some fermentation, whatever the hell is going on. Well, it turns out I got a blood test. I was correct. I'm acidic. So obviously I'm waking up and my body is telling me to eat sauerkraut. So I was doing that and like no alcohol, no sugar for a few weeks. back to normal, not craving sauerkraut. So
Right.
what I'm saying is that's a funny example, but it's the weirdest thing. But I followed it, even though a lot of my holistic friends were like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why don't you take this supplement? I'm like, well, it doesn't feel weird. It actually tastes delicious and it feels really good. And so I'm going against authority in a way, but I'm owning my own, and my body healed real quickly. So
Yeah.
there's different things. I think with doctors too, though, our bodies can't always know what science knows. So there is a balance. There isn't one or the other. Take what resonates and leave the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because we do tend to, and not we, I say people, I should say people do tend to, until they get into this type of thing. And when they start to learn, and tomorrow I'm doing a whole live on this whole topic of instincts and intuitions in my coaching group. But the point is that we take it all, and we think we should take all of that information and use it all, right? Instead of like, well, that doesn't feel so good to me, but this does. I can always tell when I'm mentoring a healthy health coach, a healthy mindset health coach, because they tell me, I like that idea, but it doesn't feel right for me, but I like this part better that you said. I'm like, thank you for listening to you. Don't look at me like someone who's got the answers for you. I want you to find the answers within you, right? So let's backpedal that though. Let's go to the origin of when did we start giving away all of our power? I mean, I know when I gave mine away.
Immediately.
I've done the work. Yeah. So what's normal? I mean, yeah.
So I just got chills. This is actually the center of my work, is what I would call the original wound. Yep. The original wound is when it's the moment in our lives, whether you're in the womb, whether you were 1 month old, 4 years old, 8 years, well, it's before 8 years old usually, because after 8 years old, we start thinking. Before that, our identity comes from what we're feeling. So the original wound is when you decide, because something happened in your environment, that I'm not okay the way that I am. There's something about me that I can't trust myself. Someone's telling me this. That is the original wound. All of my work is getting people out of their negative, unwanted patterns to get back to the place of where they decided this silly idea that I shouldn't be the way that I am. Yeah. My authentic self is flawed. Yeah. That is the moment. So going back to that is the moment, that is the original wound that we are trying to heal. But most therapists, I hate to say, a lot of traditional therapy doesn't go that deep. That's when people find me, is they're like, I still have this pattern. I'm still attracting the same kind of partner. I'm still attracting the same kind of boss. What the hell is going on? Well, I'll tell you what the hell is going on. That original wound is being masked and band-aided. And then you have another relationship that band-aids it. And then you have all this money that band-aids it. All these things band-aid the deep, deep, deep belief that I am not okay exactly as I am. That's where it all comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I forgot your question.
Yeah. It totally does. It does because I've been chasing that down for years, because I have, as you know, very little about, but the time that we spent together, patterns of the same types of relationships over and over and over in my life. And they go way back. I mean, and the pattern is exactly the same. If I'm honest and I lay it down, I lay out every man, boyfriend, or whatever, it's right there. Exactly the same traits and behaviors. So I had to keep going back further and further and further. I even did brain spotting on it. I did brain spotting on the origin of it, found it, and realized that maybe it's not just one wound though. It could be more than one that goes after a specific shame, guilt, not good enough, here's my power feeling. So I feel like sometimes for me, tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, tell me if I'm wrong. Is it possible to have more than one wound that feeds this shame, guilt feeling? Right?
There's absolutely more, and I'll tell you why. So there's the original wound, but then it gets reawakened, re-triggered, re-wounded. I'll tell you, my original wound was in the womb, and I had a memory of it when I got re-triggered as a 15-year-old. I had a memory of being a baby and having the perception, the meaning I attached to what I was feeling. So here's the issue. I'm going to tell you a big piece of this too. So we attach a meaning to what we emotionally experience, but we attach the meaning before we're old enough to have a higher perception of the reality.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So the meaning attached, right? The meaning attached to that experience is what creates so much pain. And then what creates more pain is the conclusion you came to because of the meaning you decided was what it was. And then the conclusion creates more of that pain and the same cycle over and over. The reason we attract the same pain, the same cycle, the same wounding is because it brings it to the surface. And now it's even more painful, right? Now it's been like 5 times I've had the same message. So that we can shift our perception and heal the original meaning that we created. But people aren't taught how to do this shit. So they keep having the same wound, and then it's so big that they come to me and now they're drinking, and now they've had a divorce, and now they're homeless, or now they're like a high functioning narcissist, or whatever the hell it is that they are, that they've created all these coping mechanisms to cope with this rewounding of the original wound.
Yeah.
So the way to get out of the rewounding is to literally take a new consciousness into an old pattern and watch it shift. Become totally different. Oh, now I have another narcissist coming into my life. Oh, you know what I'm going to do differently? Boundaries. Get the fuck out of my life.
No, I'm sorry.
We changed it. Yeah. We changed the way that we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you said that a minute ago, let me say this, and we see you guys chatting. I love it. Make sure you put your questions in the Q&A. But I want to say this too. When you said that a minute ago, you said before we had something about a good perception of it. So when we're wounded as children, when we're wounded as small children, young people, we're making decisions based on a childlike view of that thing, of that issue. When we don't even know how to make, our frontal lobes aren't even developed until we're in our 20s, but we're carrying that childlike idea, right, about that part of us, instead of saying, I'm a 35-year-old grown-ass woman. I'm not that 6-year-old girl who got rejected anymore, but I'm still feeling from that place. Is that correct?
Correct. So what happens is, this is the biggest part, it's about upgrading that misinterpretation of the 6-year-old, of the 8-year-old. And what happens is we think, okay, so our emotion, okay, this is a few different parts. So give me a second, but I call it the wise guide inside. Our inner wisdom, our emotional body, our heart is the wise one. But what happens is we perceive what we feel through fear. Because when we're a child and we're going through this, it clicks that survival mode, because I am dependent on others to survive as a child. Right. Now that you're an adult, and this is the biggest part of my work with people that are 40, 50, what happens is we've never upgraded that understanding that I was talking about, the meaning, the conclusion. We've never upgraded it with where we understand life to be now. So there's a disconnect between head and heart, because the little child inside is like, fuck you, I need to get my needs met. And you're like, no, I have adult desires now. And there's this disconnect, like, I don't deserve my desires because I'm not enough. So what we have to do is say, why do I believe that? And literally emotionally bring that with us, not through a head, not through, I get it now, I'm 35 and I shouldn't feel that, but through the emotional experience of integrating that inner child. People think it's so fun, inner child. It's different than we think. Yes. Your inner child is actually that wounded emotion, that emotional wound that has never been integrated or fully healed. And the reason it doesn't get fully healed is because we stay separate from it. I don't know if you remember one of our sessions where I was like, well, what do you do when you have that feeling? You're like, oh, I go do something else. And I said, well, bring it with you. Right. You have to bring that emotion with you. Stop rejecting it. Stop making it feel separate or isolated. Stop pretending it's not there, because it shouldn't be. But bring it with you and say, I'm going to now parent this feeling. Yeah. It does not control me anymore. A lot of people are afraid to go into it because they don't have those inner boundaries I talk about, where they think it's going to take over me and I'm going to die. I'm literally going to die. That's how it feels. You're not going to die. But what you're going to do is show it that you are strong enough to handle it, and you're just going to let it be what it is and watch it from the perspective of, this will not take me over. I am an adult now. And remind yourself of that consciously. If you don't, you fall into that child and you go crazy and you do patterns that aren't good for you, and you almost feed it. We have to starve it, and not by starving it, but by feeding it with a higher perspective. it's hard to understand unless you do it with me. But when you do it, you then understand it, because it's an emotional experiential learning. It can't be really taught through the mind. So that's what I'll say about that. It's very hard to teach integration with work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. And the reason why I get it is because I learned it when I was, when I learned it last year, and then when I brought it into this year's experience. Here's something that I found really profound, because I love that you said, my thing was rejection. Okay. So my fear, my wound, rejection, abandonment, all of that. And I, started the online dating thing and meeting people out and all that kind of thing, and started dating. And one of the things that I knew was going to come up over and over for me was, you're going to have to deal with rejection, right? You're going to have to deal with it. That's the world of dating. And at 47 years old, it's a brand new thing. Here's what happened. I ended up kind of saying, okay, this isn't going to work because you're not filling my needs, and my boundary is this. And that person was like, okay, well, this is not this. And I felt that old rejection feeling, but you know what I did? I caught it, and I went, I'm not going to die from this. And I didn't die from that. Like, it was an acknowledgement, reparenting, changing my structured thought around it. Right.
Yes.
Totally changed everything. Yes. Yeah. And it changed everything with my child and my relationships in other areas as well. I really resonate for that. Just that parenting from a grown up. Totally. Yeah. Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Okay. Because you have to consciously be like, oh, I'm not going to die. Like, for me, I actually had to face my biggest fear in the world not too long ago. And it was so fucking amazing, because I'm facing it with complete vulnerability, no guards, no nothing, complete vulnerability. And I was like, oh my God, not only did I make it through, but I freaking transformed to a level of complete love in the face of complete fear. And when you do that, when you face your biggest fear, rejection, and you walk through it, because you don't reject yourself, by the way, that's our biggest fear, is we're going to agree with that rejection and then leave ourselves. But when you stay in yourself, no matter what, you have yourself. Right. Our biggest fear is separation from self. So if you don't separate from self, but you become unconditional, which you haven't been taught, with yourself, then all of a sudden you realize, I can go through anything and be fine. It's not my parent or someone else that I need to survive. It's me. Yeah. It's me. It's a relationship to self that's at the forefront of everything.
Yeah, that's the biggest lesson. I think that is the biggest lesson, is that we are always looking for someone else to rescue and save us. And the lesson is that no one else is going to do that for you in any area of your life. You have to rescue and save yourself. Right. And then other people complement your life and make it even better, because you have already taken care of yourself internally. Right. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, but I just want to say that we can say that all day long.
Right.
But it's really a feeling that we come into, and it's layered. It's not going to happen at once. But if you can just keep reminding yourself, stay within me. No one will fill me but me. And you see what that means, and you look at what you have to work through. As long as you commit to self, you will make it, and you will go to those next levels. But it is with self. That is everything.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one question Andre has here is, how do you own your own authority and still stay teachable? I like that question, because she's basically asking, how do you know what your boundaries are and what feels good for you, but you know that you can learn from other people? How do you do that and stay true to yourself as well at the same time? That makes sense?
So true to yourself by being in your authenticity, but still learning from others? Is that the question?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, well, simple. So you have your integrity, right? This is who I am, yet there's always more to learn.
Right.
So when we start thinking, this is who I am and that's it, and we cap it, we just cut ourselves off from everything. It's always about learning and teaching. That's what we're here to do, learn and teach from everyone. So be in your authentic self and still be curious. Oh, but there's more. I can refine that. I can understand more. To me, it goes hand in hand. If there's another part of the question that I'm missing, tell me. But I feel like a lot of people don't realize that being authentic means being where you are. Oh, I don't know everything. Right. Oh, there is more to learn. Yes. I still own my wisdom. There's more to learn.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I want to kind of sink into a little bit about how can we, let's lean into the HSP, the highly sensitive person, and the empath and all that. A lot of coaches are that. We know that. I'd say a good 80% of them are probably in that category. How do we go into these client relationships, especially if we're doing more than one client at a time, because sometimes it can be really overwhelming? Do you have any action steps on how people can protect themselves from absorbing all that information, that negativity, and that energy?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So the first few years of coaching for me, I was getting sick, like
Me too.
physically sick after, yeah, like,
Ugh.
I had way too many clients to begin with, by the way. We have to know our boundaries. Now I'm actually doing the same amount of clients I did at the beginning, but extremely successfully
Yeah.
because I pick and choose my day. First thing to do is I do a clearing with like candles, crystals. I mean, look at all this. I have like a million things here. I protect myself energetically. I also say a prayer before and after every client. I say an intention before and after every client. I meditate every single morning and every single afternoon. I mean, it is gnarly what I set up for myself so that I can stay solid, but also resting. Like when I first started coaching, I didn't realize I needed a lot more rest because your body is processing. What I would do as an empath is before I knew inner boundaries, I would take on the client's stuff and they would literally leave my session and feel like a new woman. And I would be like dying because I just took on all their stuff and I didn't transmute it. So what I learned to do was to allow them to get rid of it, but I not take it.
Yeah.
So there's this barrier that I've created for myself. And I don't know exactly how it happened. I think it was all through intention and energy because my husband even comments all the time. He's like, babe, you're so good now. You do full days of coaching and you just go out and have fun. I'm like, that's correct. Because it's not about taking someone's stuff, which empaths do. It's about letting them clear. Yeah. Becoming such a channel that they get to see themselves in their truth and you don't have to take on their shame or their pain or anything. It's just about allowing them to see them and clear them. Nothing to do with me. But as empaths, what we do, unfortunately, a lot is we take all that on like, see, I'm good at something. See, I helped you. I'm going to take it all on so you can feel better. Yeah. It's not about that. It's about let me just be neutral and observe you and reflect the best parts of you so that you can do you and I can remain me. It's such a different dynamic. So it's learning that balance of I'm not going to take it on so you feel good. I'm going to be in my truth and authenticity so you can feel that within yourself and not take it from me, but I supply that for you. It's a different thing. Again, hard with words, but I think you get it.
Yeah, I get it. And I think it's also, and I'm big on boundaries and stuff for real. I mean, it's just one of my biggest topics now because coaches are crossing them left and right. And now that I know exactly pretty much what they are for the most part, I do feel like when we do that, when we allow someone to give us all their stuff and we absorb it and we think we're doing something great for them, what we're really doing is not allowing them to take it with them and finish the story or finish the work or whatever. Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
Totally agree with that. Yeah. Okay.
I think the best learning, I used to do that on accident. And I think people have instant healings, they call it, with me because I don't do that anymore. What I do is exactly that. I allow you to have the experience of figuring it out for you so that you have your own wisdom of the experience. I'm not just telling you this is it or allowing you to take my energy, but anchoring in your own and having that as a resource rather than needing to look outside. A lot of coaches don't empower people because they want more money. No, when you empower people, they actually want to come back. Everyone after a session says, when should I see you next? I say, whenever you feel. You don't have to sign up for a package and do sorry if you do, but every week, the same time, it's like not authentic to me. Personally, what's authentic to me is you'll know, but I'll give you a structure of what works, but you'll know. And then you'll let me know.
Right. And totally different. Testimonials. People send people to you. So your business can go that way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So Karen's saying, so allow them basically clear and support, but not become the bucket they dump everything in. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is true.
I love that. Yeah.
I felt the same way. I tell stories all the time of when I was working with some of my clients and I had too many going at one time. And the one call that I got off of that I felt just so stressed out. It was like a guitar string when I got off the phone with this woman. I literally, it was not even 5 o'clock and I went in the kitchen and poured a glass of wine. And I'm like, I'm numbing against everything that just got put in my lap from this woman because it was just so much. And I didn't have the skills to, this is, many years ago, but stop all of that from just sinking into me. It's just, it's very real, you guys. And we ignore it. We ignore the instinct. So tell us how to pay attention to our instincts more. Give us some action steps on that too.
Well, it's different for everyone, but I think the basic structure is the same. For me, I get rid of all distractions. What are my emotional distractions? So there's no alcohol for me during the week because I coach so many clients. So there's no alcohol that will take you out of it. There's no deep conversations with people that I know will be triggering. There's no, there's different things for me that I know that I have a structure around so that I don't mask what anything's going on, any feelings, anything like that. My instincts for me now are just, constant. Like I don't, it just is. I am what I am. And it's just one thing now. It's integrated in my experience. Mm-hmm. I've integrated my instincts as who I am. But up until that point, when there's still a lot of work to be done within your own being, that's when it's tricky. So you have to understand that instinctual, the flow is getting out of your head. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking, I'm feeling. And when I think about a feeling, then it's So I'm going to have the feelings, and I'm going to stop monitoring my feelings. I'm going to stop judging my feelings. I'm going to stop worrying about what other fucking people think about my feelings. That's how you start to practice being unapologetic with your own instinct. And when you do that, your instinct gets fed and it starts to lead you. For me, I'm completely led every day by how I not feel, but intuition, where I wake up and it's not like an emotional experience. It's more like feels like a pure experience where I feel like there is really no emotion attached, if that makes sense. Like my emotions are here, but then the way I live is kind of here where I can dip down in and but things don't rock me from here. They rock me from here, right? So it's almost just becoming more of that neutral observer. Like, let me observe what's happening from a higher perspective. Let me observe what I'm feeling. That's how I like to teach people to start, is get real about how you feel, but from a place where you're not involved in it and being taken over from it, but you're watching it. And then you can start to see that you watch others without judging or dipping down. Then you start to see that you watch life without judging or needing it to be a certain way. Then you realize that, oh my God, I'm getting the fuck out of my own way. And this is a very instinctual way to be, just chilling. Yeah. Just chilling. Now, when I have like crazy shit going on in my life, I don't feel the crazy shit so much because I'm just here chilling, watching the crazy shit. It's such a weird thing. It's hard, right? But it's kind of almost like an evolution of your own experience within yourself.
Yeah. Once it starts to happen, once you start to tap into the instinct and the intuition, for me anyway, it was more like get still for a moment, even in the smallest moments when something would be happening. If I wasn't sure how I wanted to respond, if I just take a minute, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, oh, that's what the answer is. Oh, that's how I feel about it. And don't let my mind go in, and labeling the feelings with our mind changes everything about the way we relate to other people.
100%. Totally. Just let it be what it is, and don't attach anything to it. I love what you just said. That's exactly right. That's an easier way to explain it, is just, okay, it comes in. I'm going to be in the present moment, which is where the power is, which is where the authenticity is. I'm going to be present and not make that mean something from the past, or, oh my God, that reminds me of this. Now I'm triggered. But what did they say? Oh, they just said that. It doesn't mean anything. That's just what they said.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I know we're like, yes. It's not disassociating from experience or anything like that. It's totally different than disassociating, not being a part of your life. It's different. But So Diane's saying, do you have any recommended meditations to help clear? I get headaches when dealing with some people. I know it's energy, not always there. Sometimes too much coming in. It feels like she's not releasing it completely, but hoping this makes sense.
I have a lot of short meditations. Someone who formerly had ADD, I like to do shit quick. I have a lot of short meditations on my monthly membership, but specifically like one for self-love, which people love that one for anxiety, one for being in the present moment. There's a lot of different ones. I think a great thing to tune into if you just want to chill is self-love. And the reason is all the energy goes back to self. So any power you've given away that day or feel like you will that day, you are sort of reclaiming. And just by being whole in yourself changes everything. Right. And feeling comfortable in that and saying, oh, I have all that I need right now. I'm good. So it's just grounding in the self, I believe, would be the best beginning of a meditation for that.
Yeah. And you know what, you guys, here's the thing that I've felt over and over again. I started all this stuff when I was younger too. At 47, I started studying not studying, but I will say really getting the niggling to understand and learn more about the mind-body connection when I was in high school. But I will
Uh-huh.
say this, that the more we run away from those things, the more they're going to, I mean, again, the whisper and the scream. If something's whispering at you to try to get your attention, it's best to pay attention now because the scream is always more painful. Okay. So all of the
Yeah.
whispers, using my own experience again and again, throwing out vulnerability here, all of the
Yeah.
whispers of the not good enough, rejection, codependent feelings brought in all those crazy relationships. Those were whispers.
Mhm.
And those were prior to
Yeah.
marriage. No, I had to just go, oh, whatever. I'm just going to ignore all of that. I'm going to dive headfirst into the most dysfunctional relationship I can have in a completely permanent way for almost 18 years. That was the scream.
Yeah.
So had I been more in touch and
Right.
dialed in to the whispers, I might not have ended up in
Yes.
the scream, right? Yeah.
I
So
really agree.
yeah,
Really agree.
totally. And so tell us, so Diane's saying here, I do the opposite. I choose to rescue others than feel my own feelings and rescue myself. I'm always getting better at and being more aware of it. And so why do people do that? What's so scary about what's inside of us? Why do we keep trying to rescue everyone?
Projection.
See,
Projection.
I'm not
Because
alone.
if I rescue them, yeah, if I rescue them, then I don't have to feel like I'm not rescued. So what we do, it's interesting. It's like this, it's an opposite thing that we do where, you know, we project our power onto others, we project our pain onto others, and we project what we actually need onto others. So is it, Diane? I bet in a way, if you think about it, when you're constantly trying to rescue others, really ask yourself, because everyone's a reflection of us, right? You're my mirror. So if I'm rescuing you, I get to feel the relief. It's almost what I call energetic codependency, and I don't like labeling, but it's just something to think about. Energetic codependency is when I need you to feel better so I can feel good because I'm feeling
Yes.
what you're feeling.
Yes.
It's almost that boundary that's needed. But you also probably are a caring, empathic, wonderful person. My husband's like that, actually, where he loves taking care of people and nurturing in a certain way. But it's so funny because what he truly loves is the same thing. He just won't ask for it. But of course I know. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to give you what you need. And I don't know about you, but some people like that have a visceral reaction to getting cared for. It has to be giving. I'm better at giving than receiving. So something to look at. When we're better at giving than receiving, there might be an undercover belief that I don't deserve it because I never got it. Think
Oh my
about
gosh.
it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
instead of,
Yeah.
right?
Stop right there for a second, because you just dialed into the person that I'm actually seeing right now in such a way that I just got chills. So here's the thing. I'm a giver, but I don't give to be approved of. It's one of my love languages. Okay. Well, this person that I'm seeing has a hard time receiving and has honestly said, I really struggle to receive. And I said, well, this is going to be a short-term thing because you've got to understand that this is what, okay. So long story short, we just had this conversation the other day. I said, I really hope that you're able to get to the point where you can receive in a way that feels good. And he said, you know what?
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why I've never been a person that's good at receiving is because I never wanted to depend on anyone because I never got my needs met in that way growing up. Crazy.
100%. Yes. This is what I see. They don't understand it until you tell them. And then they're like, oh shit. And then there's a whole process about it. But because this is what happens, there's two things that happen. Number one, a lot of people that didn't get their needs met as kids make themselves extremely independent. So that in case I fail at that again, I can't make it about me. It's not my fault because I'm independent. Yes. So, but see, what they're doing again is band-aiding that original wound, which is I'm unworthy of getting my needs met. So instead of risking being told I'm unworthy again, I'll just do it all myself.
Yes.
And I won't receive. But what sucks for people like you is the person that can't receive is then taking from you, because to give is a part of our authentic truth. And if someone's not receiving, you don't feel like your giving is enough. Right. You don't feel like, oh my God, I'm not getting that feeling of equality. So it feels like a one-sided relationship, even though they're not a narcissist, they're actually quite wonderful people. A lot of them quite codependent because they just want to help give because they can't receive. But at the opposite side of that is there is a wounding in there. And if that wounding doesn't get healed, you feel the wound in the opposite way. Yeah. So again, it's like the human magnet syndrome, where before you attracted the narcissist, now you're kind of attracting the codependent, but it's the same wound, just expressed oppositely, which is, in my opinion, a lot of people to a little degree or a lot degree, right? A lot of people have these things in them because nobody is completely healed unless you do all of this crazy ass work, which I've been doing for 20 years. And I can only say now I'm healed, but shit still happens. where you're like, oh, next level, another level, you know, another layer, another layer. You're never totally healed, but healed enough to understand it and do it in a different way where it's not, you know, catastrophic and painful. It's just awareness. Oh, something else to be healed, something else to another part of the shadow. It becomes more exciting rather than devastating and crazy.
And that's how this was. That's how this played out for me to be able to say, you know what, this is a thing for me. This is how I feel, with no wounded response for the first time in my whole life, and being okay with the outcome no matter what. And then here's the other thing is, though, I think it's a two-part thing. He was able to say, I have this inner problem from when I was growing up that I think that's stemming from. And since this is important to you, it will be important to me. And I'm going to find a way that I can be more open. And that was like 4 days ago. And little tiny things have been shifting and changing where there's more reciprocity. It's crazy. But I think it takes two mature adults. It takes two mature adults that are emotionally working on themselves to be able to come to that place. Yes. Yeah. So cool.
Listen, this is so cool because this is one of my favorite things. Like, I coach a lot of couples, a lot of partners. And what I say is, say, hey, I've got this fucking thing. As soon as you say, I've got this thing, you're off the hook and you can heal. Yes. If you're not going to look at that thing and you're going to deny the fact that you can't receive, we're never going to get anywhere. But if you can be honest, that's the healing. Yes. Get real about how you feel. You can heal. This is everything. You say, hey, I'm wounded. And they say, me too. And you say, perfect, let's heal. You can absolutely get to the next level in whatever capacity, for sure, because you are admitting truth and you are standing in the reality. And that's it. It's not about being perfect and faking it. No, we all have shit. Everyone does. I do. You do. Everyone does. But being real about your shit is the healing.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you.
I know. And this is what I was going to tell you too. But like, even the vulnerability thing, you know, is talking about the vulnerabilities, very open and a vulnerable person. And I was not for a long time. And I think I told you one of my struggles was getting really vulnerable with people in that kind of relationship. And I just took a leap and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell you that I have a problem with being vulnerable and trust because of what happened to me. And he said, this is what he says to me. He said, well, I'll tell you what, if I cannot appropriately handle your vulnerability in a way that respects you and keeps my boundaries and yours in the same place, then you don't need to be around me anyway. And I'm like, what? Where did you come from? Like, this is mature.
I love this person.
I do too. He's great. I mean, I don't love him. I don't know him to love him. But the point is that these are the things that open up in our lives, right? When we are doing the work, we attract the same people that are doing the work, and it just opens the doors to so much. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. I want to share this. I want to share this too, because I think it's really relevant at the moment, because a lot of people ask me, how did you meet your husband? How did it? I say, you know what? It's funny. This is the first person we met, 8 years ago. It was the first person that I came into a relationship with and said, so I'm not sure what the fuck's going on. I may be moving back to New York. I don't really know. Like, the first person who I was like, my shit's not completely together. And at the same time, I remember having a huge trigger with him at the beginning of our relationship. And I went to him totally different than normal. And I said, so I'm having this big trigger. I'm afraid of abandonment, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, wow, I understand. Okay, what you just said about being totally vulnerable in a relationship, for me, that is why we were married. Yeah. Because there was no pretense, no fakeness, no, I have to be something I'm not. But this is what I am. Can you handle it? And vice versa. And through that, we both became our best selves and are still becoming, because I don't need you to be any different than how you really feel.
Yes.
Hello. That is not what relationships look like these days. They're like, well, I have these ideals about who you should be. And when you're not that ideal, because I need that to feel good enough, then we're going to leave each other. But if you can be strong in who you are and say, you can be in your journey and it has nothing to do with me, and I can hold space for you, which is coaching. I can hold space for you to be in your journey and not need it to be any different. That's because that's how I am with me. I don't need myself to be any different. I don't need my partner to be any different than they are. And together that creates such a strength of safety and honor and real love and real trust and tolerance, where you feel like, what we don't tell ourselves as children, I can be exactly as I am without needing to be any different and still be loved. Yes. That's the lesson.
Yes. And
that's the relationship we want.
It totally is. And this is not just in relationships with people that we want to be our partners or whatever. This is relationships with our clients as well. It's not our job to go in there and tell them what to fix and how to heal. It's our job to, once again, always saying, hold space for them and help them uncover, where are you stuck? Where are you not your best self?
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, that part of the problem and one of the reasons you're not healthy is because you don't even know who you are yet. How do we help you find that? So Karen's got this question. We got about 5 minutes left, but she's saying, kind of building on Diane's question, are there some practical ideas to create a touchstone or a quick release as we coach in the day? You're referring to candles and meditation. Can you share a little? I think they're looking for, like, if we've got back-to-back clients, like meditating for an hour in the morning and then sitting with a candle and crystal all day long is going to be really hard to do.
So I have back-to-back clients, and yeah, I mean, I try to have 5 minutes in between, but sometimes I don't even, but I've gotten really good at it. What I'll do is in between each client, I give myself just a few minutes to do this clearing. So I have my own that I've created where I do this clearing of all energies. I say an intention and prayer up to light and sound, releasing what isn't mine, into the nothingness of which it came. And I ask to refill myself with compassion, with truth, so I release all of their shit, and then I realign myself. I feel it, and then I literally start my next session. I do a little clearing with the candlelight, and I do notice it completely works. For me, it does. And then at the end of my day, I clear everyone one more time. I say their full name, clear them one more time, do a little sage, and literally now it doesn't take me long at all. I used to do like a little ceremony. It takes me like literally 5 seconds. I do that, and I'm back to me, back to center. It's a practice. Yes. In between each client, do a full clearing of their energy and ask to be basically replenished with your own self. And then start again. So that's just my tip. That's what I do.
That you can do that in 60 seconds.
Whatever works for you, but I love it.
That can be quick.
So literally less than that.
Yeah. Okay. I need some information how people can get in touch with you. So what is, I'm going to type it up while you say it. So what's your website?
It's CandaceVandel.com.
Okay.
So
and then
CANDACE Vandel.
ACE Vandel. Okay. So what is you have a program or a course or a membership group or something? Do you have a separate link for that, or do you want to send that to me, or how do you want to do
that? Page. You'll see it. It's the first thing that pops up on the page. It's the membership group. And then my YouTube channel's on there, my Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. If you DM me, I'll always write back. So my big things are Instagram and YouTube. And my courses are all on my website. So
okay, so I'm gonna let me pop this in. Hold on a second. I want to pop this in. Could you be any prettier? I mean, please. Okay, so there's your sites, you guys. Grab those, but we will send this out with the replay. And for those of you who, most people are going to be listening to the replay, make sure that anytime this topic comes up, this is outside the normal scope, but it falls in our 7 foundations that I teach at the Institute for Functional Health Coaching. And it falls under so many different areas. It falls under spirituality. It falls under stress perception. It falls under fun. It falls under, how we're nourishing our body, how our clients are taking care of themselves. So don't put yourselves in a box with health coaching. Take some of this, take what you want, leave the rest. Because we don't care. No, right? We're like, we don't care what you think. Yeah. But this is one of those things I wanted to bring in because your energy, what you did for me was really powerful, and just the energy that you bring to the coaching space, I think is amazing. And go out and watch her YouTube channels, you guys. If you've struggled with finding yourself and getting your energy and really owning your power, and I can tell you that a lot of you guys, I know some people on here right now have given your power away. Go out and find out how to get it back. So, and let us know what you think, right?
Yeah. Yes. Amazing. Thank you all for joining. This was super fun. I love you, Carmen. You're the best.
Love you too. Thank you. Let's get together. Let's get your walkthrough done and we'll catch up. Okay. All right.
Okay,
bye, everyone.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.